From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Montana's U.S. senators are sounding off on Joe Biden and the 50-50 split Senate. Coming up, hear what they say about being able to work together to tackle the coronavirus and economic issues.
After receiving an order from Montana's new Attorney General, the Gallatin County Attorney says he will not dismiss the case against the Rockingham Bar. How the Board of Health voted to continue that suit coming up.
Well, good Thursday morning. You're watching Montana This Morning. Holly Brantley, Chet Lehman, Matt Elwell here for you, and thank you for joining us. So, you know, I don't see any snow coming down yet, Matt, but we've been talking about it all morning.
There may be a few snowflakes in a few areas, but really we're watching later today for the heavier snow to move in. The early morning temperatures, what a mix. 12 degrees in West Yellowstone, 27 in Dillon, 21 in Butte. We're sitting at 30 degrees in Belgrade right now. It does look like our temperatures will be right into the low 30s today. The best potential of snow coming later today. You can see spotty snow early, and then by the evening we start to see those heavier bands developing. Our daytime highs right around that 30-degree mark. Not a ton of wind, but late in the day we'll start to see some snow fly, and that may really impact your evening commute. We'll talk more about how this may impact your day today and tomorrow coming up in just about 10 minutes.
Montana's three-man congressional delegation attended Wednesday's inauguration of President Biden, including our two U.S. senators, Republican Steve Daines and Democrat Jon Tester.
MTN's Mike Dennison talked to both senators afterwards about how they see the Senate and the country moving forward under a new president.
Both senators spoke positively about Wednesday's ceremony and how it's a symbol of our democracy.
It's a great day where the country comes together, Republicans and Democrats together, sitting with this important transfer of power that we have done faithfully now for over 200 years.
But they also noted that a power-sharing agreement hasn't yet been worked out in the 50-50 Senate. Tester said it should come soon, and that an early indicator of cooperation will be whether Republicans try to hold up confirmation of key Biden cabinet appointees.
And hopefully, folks will treat him like he treats us. He said he was going to be transparent, honest, and he was going to tell the truth to us, and I think we need to do the same for him. And I think if that were to happen, that means we're going to be working together and getting some things done.
Tester said the first priority must be getting the pandemic behind us, including making more vaccines available and faster.
We need to get those vaccines on the ground, get them in people's arms, and it needs to be done quickly. Look, at the rate we're going, it'll be June or July of 2021 before Montana gets vaccinated. That's unacceptable.
Senator Daines said he's willing to find common ground with the Biden administration, but he's disappointed that one of the president's first actions is stopping the Keystone XL oil pipeline, which would cut across a corner of northeast Montana. He also said Biden's proposed COVID-19 relief bill at $1.9 trillion is not a fiscally prudent path.
I think it is has a huge price tag that we can't afford. We've already pushed out nearly $4 trillion in COVID relief over the course of the last year.
Tester said he wants to get Biden's COVID-19 package in committee and see if it can be improved. But he said now is not the time for throttling back on aid to the economy.
If you want to make sure the economy never comes back, starve it. Don't put any money in from the federal government. If you want to make sure that those small businesses, those bars, those restaurants, those hotels are out of business, then don't support it.
Above all, Tester said the 50-50 split in the Senate means the body must find ways to agree on steps to move the country forward and leave behind years of often bitter disagreement and very little real work done on the Senate floor or in committees.
And there are people on both sides of the aisle that want to work together and get things done. We just got to do it.
Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Montana's lone representative in the House, Republican Matt Rosendale, was also at the inauguration and says, quote, "The inauguration is one of our most sacred institutions of the United States government, and it has been an event that has happened every 4 years since our constitutional government began. I will continue to hold President Biden and Vice President Harris in my thoughts and prayers as they begin to lead our nation," end quote. Rosendale continued to oppose the certification of Biden's electoral votes after the mob stormed the Capitol 2 weeks ago.
6:34 back here at home. Gallatin City County Health Board of Health made a series of votes, including extending countywide mask mandate, quarantine rules, and rules about visitation at assisted living facilities, but they did not extend restrictions on business hours, well, at least not yet. After a meeting that lasted nearly 6 hours, the board decided it will discuss those restrictions further when they're originally set to expire, which is in 2 weeks on February 4th. The mask mandate, which was supported by many, phoned in public comment, will now be in place until April 20th. But the heated discussion weighed in and around business closing times, which still is restricted to 10 p.m. Board member Buck Taylor discussed the possibility of moving that time back to midnight, which the board considered making a motion on, but decided to hold off on further discussion until they could amend the emergency rule appropriately. Matt Kelly cited the short supply of vaccine doses.
The constraint is the supply of vaccine. We simply don't have the vaccine, and it's not anybody's fault. We don't even really have the full visibility of when we're going to get the vaccine to be able to schedule points of dispensing.
Now, board members also say they want to see impacts of returning MSU students further, as well as the scheduled reopening of the Bozeman schools.
The Gallatin County Attorney says he will continue pursuing the case of a downtown Bozeman bar that is accused of violating the local emergency health rule for closing time, despite the Montana Attorney General telling him to dismiss it.
MTN's Cody Boyer was in yesterday's Gallatin City County Health Board meeting and tells us what happened.
At the beginning of the meeting, Matt Kelly said outright that this entire COVID-19 situation is like putting together a large puzzle. But also at the beginning, the Board of Health voted, excluding one nay vote, to continue the suit against the Rockingham Bar.
I tell you right now, I have not accommodated the Attorney General. It was probably impossible to do that anyway.
Gallatin County Attorney Marty Lambert opened Wednesday morning's virtual meeting with the Board of Health nearly 1 week after Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen sent Lambert a message.
I was to dismiss the case of Gallatin City County Board of Health and Health Officer Matt Kelly versus the Rockingham Bar. I don't dismiss things, first of all, without consulting with my client.
4 people spoke in Rockingham owner Mike Hope's defense in public comment, including fellow Bozeman business owner Kyle Voigtlander and Cheryl Tuscan.
I highly encourage you guys to dismiss this case. It's hurt Mike Hope's business. It's hurt other businesses.
And I think you guys owe the small businesses and Rockingham Bar an apology for singling them out.
Similar words stated by Knudsen in the press release last week, which in part read, the 10 o'clock closure rule defies common sense. This type of government overreach is devastating to Montana workers and small businesses.
He said that businesses are being held hostage.
Lambert told the board that one factor stands above others in his request to continue the suit. It's a civil case, not state.
Austin Knudsen is now serving as the Attorney General for the state of Montana. Parties here are you and Matt Kelly and the Rockingham Bar. And that is just different in so many aspects.
In the end, the board voted 7-1 in favor of following through with the suit. Lambert says the temporary injunction on the bar is still set until March 1st. At that time or before, he adds a range of options could happen, such as the 2 parties agree to resolve the issue or the injunction could be extended.
There are many things at play here. The fact that this is a civil case puts this on an entirely different footing.
In Gallatin County, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Cody also reached out to Mike Hope following the meeting. Here's his response.
I think it's a shame that our local health board would continue to go after small business like they are. I believe we've been a really good part of this community and we give back to the community, and what we really are wanting is the opportunity for our staff to make a living and the rest of our industry to move forward. I think you got a bunch of power-hungry, unelected officials making decisions that are affecting livelihoods.
Cody reached out to the Montana Attorney General's office as well and has not heard back yet.
Well, 6:39 now. Thanks to COVID, a lot of people are still working from home. That leaves us feeling like we need to make sure our managers know we're working.
We may experience work-related anxiety from other things, like thinking people are judging our homes in video conferences or being paranoid about why our emails and messages are going unanswered. Experts say it's normal to experience these feelings since office interactions and dynamics have changed.
People don't have as much have a opportunity to have social interactions with their colleagues. There's no water cooler, right, when you're doing Zoom meetings. At the same time, and since we are less likely to have those social interactions, there's sort of just less grease on the wheels. So they're grinding against each other a little bit more.
That's why Dr. David Rosemarin says social interactions are important. That can include things like virtual happy hours or even just a casual video conference hangout group.
You know, it's just all the more important that we don't go into our own little bubbles and be only focused on our productivity during a pandemic. We really need to band together and to, be human with each other.
Some companies have shifted during the pandemic to make these water cooler hangouts happen. Experts say if you've been experiencing significant anxiety for more than a month, it may be time to see a mental health professional.
I would argue some of those same instructions would go well for those limited few of us who are still working in the workplace when everybody else is gone.
Yes,
we've
it
got
is.
Our tight little knit group of people here, but we don't get to see anybody else either.
The dynamic is so different.
It's crazy.
And to the people that are just starting their jobs at the start of the pandemic, wow, I can't even, those young people, shout out to you, way to go.
The life in a newsroom is a blast.
It's
being around
that's
everyone else.
Half of why we do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll go back to your room and I'll go to mine.
Right, exactly. See ya. See ya.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, coming up on Montana this morning, the coronavirus is mutating with new strains popping up across the globe and now in the U.S. as well. Coming up, find out if the vaccines we have will still work against the deadly virus.
But first, here's Anthony Mason with a look at what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, President Biden begins his first full day in office after pledging to unite the country in his inaugural address. New White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki joins us to discuss his ambitious agenda. Also, state and local officials say they're running out of vaccine doses. We'll look at what's being called vaccine tourism in Florida, where tens of thousands of doses are reportedly going to people who live in other states and even to visitors from abroad. And inaugural poet Amanda Gorman captivated the nation yesterday with her poise and powerful words. She talks to us about her plans to reach even greater heights in the future. It was an amazing performance. All that coming up when we see you at 7.